Hello and welcome students. In today's module, we will learn a new topic, climate of India. So let's start. If you look at this map, you can see a land mass which is colored with pink or reddish pink. So this is India. This is the country where we live, and this country, if you look at the map carefully, is in the continent of Asia. So India lies to the southern part of Asia and it is at the head of the Indian Ocean. The Indian landmass is at the head of the Indian Ocean. That's why the ocean is named Indian Ocean, because it is surrounding most part of the country. Now students, India is also known as Indian subcontinent together with its neighboring countries. I mean, India and the neighboring countries together, they are known as Indian subcontinent. Because it seems it's such a large country, it seems like in a continent of Asia, it is making another smaller continent in the bigger continent of Asia. So it is also known as Indian subcontinent. Here the fact is mentioned. Why India is referred to as Indian subcontinent? The answer is, the Indian subcontinent is in the southern region and peninsula of Asia, projecting southward into the Indian Ocean from the Himalayas. So children, we have seen in the map, it is in the southern portion of Asia and it is at the head of the Indian Ocean. The southern part of India is a peninsula, and this region has physiographical and climatic homogeneity. Children, homogeneity means similarity. Therefore, it is considered to be a small continent within a larger continent of Asia. So students, I hope you have understood. India and the surrounding neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, they have similarity, homogeneity in climatic condition as well as in physical features. So these neighboring countries, smaller countries around India and India along with it, as together known as Indian subcontinent. So students, I hope you have understood this. Let's proceed. So here we come to the formal introduction of climate of India. So India is an home to extraordinary variety of climatic region, ranging from tropical climate in the south to temperate and alpine climate in the north, where elevated regions receive winter snowfall. The nation's climate is strongly influenced by the Himalayas and the Thar desert. So children, if you just read this introduction twice, you will understand the essence of the climate, the diversity of climate in India. Means, if we see the map of India, then we will find that the Tropic of Cancer is passing from the middle of the subcontinent. So Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degree north, is passing from the middle of the continent, that is a subcontinent. This means that almost from the center of the country. So the southern portion of India is very close to the equator. So you know what 8 degree 4 minute north latitude passes from the southernmost tip of India. This means India is very close to 0 degree equator. So the southern portion of India is the temperature is comparatively higher. Means it experiences tropical climate. Tropical, it lies in the tropical zone. Whereas beyond the Tropic of Cancer, definitely above the Tropic of Cancer, it is a temperate zone. So the northern part of India experiences temperate type of climate. And top in the north lies the Himalaya, which is very high. So due to high altitude, lapse rate is experienced and the temperature is low in the hilly regions of the country. So here we say it is alpine climate in the Himalayan north. Now students, all the elevated regions, the higher regions with high altitude, definitely as we go up temperature drops due to lapse rate. Air becomes thin and the temperature also reduces as we move up. And you know the rate of reduction, with every 166 meters of increase in height, temperature drops by 1 degree Celsius. So this is called normal lapse rate or lapse rate. So students, I hope I have made it clear that India has variety of climate because Tropic of Cancer is passing through the center, and in India there is a lot of diversity in landform. In the north there are Himalayas, then there is the fertile plains of Ganga and Brahmaputra, then we find the peninsular plateau. So children, we will discuss about each one so that this physical features, when you are aware of the physical features, it will be very easy for you to understand the climate. So let's proceed. So to learn about the climate of India, you should have the knowledge of location, size, extent and physical features of the subcontinent. So children, we will learn about all these things. Let's start with the location. So India is located, it lies to the southern part of Asia at the head of the Indian Ocean, and is the only country after which an ocean is named. An ocean, Indian Ocean, it's named after the subcontinent. India is quite centrally located in relation to Europe, Africa, Asia and Australia. So it possesses a strategic position in the international trade route. Children, it's very important to understand. If we see the position of India, it is almost centrally located from Asia, Europe, Australia. So from all the sides it is almost centrally located. Therefore it has a very important strategic position on the international trade route. So most of the ships, they have to those ships which are engaged in trade, they have to move via our country, that is India, through the Indian Ocean. That's why it has a very important strategic position on the international trade route. So this was about the location of the country. It is located at the head of the Indian Ocean. Now children, we will see the area. So 2.42% of the world's total land area is occupied by India, and it is 3.2 million square kilometer. This is the area, and it is the 7th largest country in the world. So according to the area, these are the information. So children, now we know the location, the area occupied. Now we will learn about the latitudinal extent. So what is the latitudinal extent? But before that, let's see in which hemisphere does it lie. India entirely lies in the north of the equator. So children, India lies totally in the northern hemisphere. If it is in the north of the equator, definitely it lies totally, completely in the northern hemisphere. So it's mentioned here. Let's see the latitudinal extent. 8 degree 4 minute north. This is the latitude which is passing from the southernmost part of the country. 8 degree 4 minute north to 37 degree 6 minute north. So children, you can see this is the latitudinal extent of the country. The Tropic of Cancer passes from the middle of the country, which divides the India into two equal halves. So students, from the center passes the Tropic of Cancer. This also plays a very important role in modifying the climatic condition of the country. This is the location. Children, you can see the latitude 8 degree 4 minute north, and here it extends up to 36 degree 6 minute north. This is the latitudinal extent. Here we also have the longitudinal extent. Let's just read about it. So the longitudinal extent of the country or the subcontinent, we'll say country, is 68 degree 7 minute east to 97 degree 25 minute east. So children, India completely lies in the northern as well as in the eastern hemisphere. So the continent, subcontinent or the country, it completely lies in the northern as well as in the eastern hemisphere. So children, this was the latitudinal and longitudinal extent. Now let's see how many longitudes passes from the country. So there are about 30 degrees of longitudes from 68 degree 7 minute to 97 degree 25 minute. If we calculate, if we count the number of longitudes, they are about 30 degrees of longitudes passing all over the country. 82 degree and 30 minute east longitude. Children, this is 82 and half degree east longitude. If you remember, you have studied about the Indian Standard Time, IST. So this is the standard longitude of the country. It passes from the middle of the country, and the place is Prayagraj. It is in Uttar Pradesh, Allahabad. We have learned, and this is now known as Prayagraj. It passes through this place, and this time of this longitude means the local time of this longitude is followed all over the country, so that we have uniformity in time. So this is our standard time. The local time of this longitude is the standard time for the whole country. All of us follow the time of 82.5 degree east longitude. This is because it passes from the center of the country. So students, I hope you have understood. Let's see the map. So the longitudinal extent, latitudinal and longitudinal extent you can see here. You can see the 23.5 degree north. This is the Tropic of Cancer, passing almost through the center of the country. Now students, if we do not learn about the water bodies surrounding the country, then the understanding of location will be incomplete. To understand the location, we need to know about the latitude, longitude, and also we should know about the water bodies surrounding the country. So here we have Arabian Sea in the west, Bay of Bengal to the east, and the Indian Ocean in the south. So students, these are the important major water bodies surrounding the subcontinent. So we have learnt about the size, area, location in respect of latitudinal extent, longitudinal extent, and the water bodies surrounding the subcontinent. Now let's proceed. Here we'll learn about the physical features of India. So children, we have got some idea where the country lies, the subcontinent lies, and about the area and the extent. Now let's see which are the physical features all over the country. So this is a list of physical features. In the extreme north lies the mountain wall of the north. See in the map, the Himalayas, the mountain wall of the north. The Great Northern Plain or the Indo-Gangetic Plain. Children, here we have the Great Indo-Gangetic Plain. The Peninsular Plateau. So here, this is the Peninsular Plateau. The coastal plains. Children, I'll show you the coastal plains and the western and eastern Ghats together. Just see. Just next to the ocean lies the plain formed near the coast. The plain is formed on the coast. It is formed by the alluvium brought by the river as well as the sediments from the ocean. They form a fertile plain. This is known as the coastal plain. And just next to the coastal plains lies the western Ghats, you can see, and the eastern Ghats. So these are the series of hills. We'll learn about them later when we'll discuss all the physical features one by one. So this is the first one, Himalayas. the Indo-Gangetic Plain or the North Indian Plain, the Peninsular Plateau, then we have the coastal plains, the western and eastern Ghats, and the group of island groups Andaman and Nicobar, and the Lakshadweep Islands. So children, these are the major physical features of the subcontinent. I missed out something, that is the Thar Desert. So the Thar Desert lies to the northwestern part of the continent, the subcontinent or the country. This is very important as it plays a very important role in modifying the climate of the country. Students, this is another map, more detailed map of the physical features of India. If we see the northern portion, you can see several parallel ranges. So here I am talking about the Himalayas. Himalayas, they have three parallel ranges. The highest part of Himalaya is known as Himadri. The middle Himalayas are known as Himachal Himalayas, and the lower slopes of the Himalayas are known as Shivalik. So here I will write down Himadri, the highest portion of the Himalayas. Himachal Himalayas are the middle Himalayas, and the lower Himalayas are called Shivalik. So children, don't worry, we will learn about them when we will discuss each physical feature. Children, this is the proper map where we will learn about the Himalayas. The Himalayas form an arc shape. If you can see in the diagram, they form an arc shape, and as I have told you, they have three parallel ranges. The highest, the Himadris, the middle Himalayas known as the Himachal Himalayas, and the foothills of the Himalayas are known as Shivalik. So students, this is the loftiest and the highest mountain range in the world. And if you see, if we divide it, if we see it longitudinally, then we have three parallel ranges, and the eastern side, the eastern portion has more variation in height compared to the western portion of the of this mountain range. So they have parallel ranges, and they extend from the northern part of the continent to subcontinent to the eastern part. In the eastern portion, there is a sudden turn, and they form the Purvanchal hills, or the hills in the northeastern part of India. We call them Purvanchal hills. So students, this is about the loftiest and the highest mountain range in the world. And all of us are aware of Mount Everest, which lies on the Himalayas. There are several passes in the Himalayas. They are actually gaps in between the mountain ranges, from where people can move from one side of the mountain to the another side. So they are known as passes, mountain passes. Children, if I zoom in, you can see Shipkila Pass. There are several other passes you can see here. So there are several passes. They are actually passage from where people can move from one side to the another side. Now students, apart from this, you can see several peaks. Here is the Mount Everest, the highest one. Apart from this, there are several peaks shown in the map. Now if we head to the northeastern portion of the country, there are three hills. They are part of Purvanchal hills, Garo, Khasi and Jaintia. So these three hills, their alignment is such that they play a very, very significant role in modifying the climate of India. So students, when we learn about the climate, we will definitely learn about these three hills. They are part of the Himalayas, as they are the extension of the Himalayas in the northeastern part of India. Here we call the Himalayas as Purvanchal hills. So students, now we will proceed to the next physical feature, and here we will learn about the North Indian plain or the plain of the Ganga. If we look at the location of the North Indian plain or the plain of Ganga, then we can say to the north lies the Himalayas and to the south lies the peninsular plateau, and in between lies the plain of Ganga or the North Indian plain. So students, let's look at the rivers that have brought sediments. They deposited the sediments and have made this plain. So you can see the green color has been used to show the extent of this plain, and this plain can be this is so huge that it's extending from the western part to the eastern part of the continent, subcontinent. So we can divide it into 4 parts. The first part, we start from the west, is the Rajasthan plain. So part of this plain in Rajasthan is known as Rajasthan plain, where Luni, which is the seasonal stream, is the only important river. Now the next one is the Punjab Haryana plain, and this is drained by 5 rivers: Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas and Satluj. And the next is the Ganga plain. This is the most extensive part of this plain, and it extends from Delhi to Kolkata. So students, this is the extent of the third part of this plain, which is the Ganga plain, and this plain extends across 3 states of India: Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal. Now students, the fourth part of this plain is the Brahmaputra plain. So here is river Brahmaputra. River Brahmaputra forms a plain along with river Ganga, and this forms the easternmost part of this plain, the North Indian plain. So students, once again I would like to recapitulate. The North Indian plain or the Ganga plain is formed by 3 major rivers: river Indus, river Ganga and river Brahmaputra. So these 3 rivers, they have formed this extensive plain, and their tributaries drain different parts of the this plain. So this is together, all these 3 rivers make their own separate plains, but it's merging. So together we call it the North Indian plain. We also call it the Ganga plain because Ganga occupies the largest part of this plain, or we can say river Ganga and its tributaries drain the largest portion of this plain. So this plain can be divided into 4 parts: the Rajasthan plain in the west, where river Luni is a seasonal stream, is the most important. Next is Punjab Haryana plain, which is drained by 5 rivers, and then next is the Ganga plain, which extend from Delhi to Kolkata, extending over 3 states: Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal. And the fourth part of the plain which forms the easternmost portion, is the Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra along with Ganga forms the Ganga Brahmaputra plain. So students, that's all about the North Indian plain. The next physical feature that we are going to learn is the peninsular plateau. If we see the location of the peninsular plateau, then to the north of the peninsular plateau lies the plain of Ganga or the North Indian plain. Now students, if we talk about the plateau, it is made up of old hard crystalline rocks. The rocks are mostly igneous and metamorphic. So definitely they have been eroded less because these rocks are very hard. They are very durable. They are not soft rocks. So this region is mostly formed due to the volcanic eruptions in the past, and the lava cooled down to form this plateau. The average height of this plateau is from 600 to 900 meters. The height varies. In the northern part, the height is less comparatively, whereas if we move towards the south, the height increases. Now students, if we look at the plateau, which is colored, or it is shown with a light yellow shade, then this plateau is surrounded by several hills. In the north, the Aravalis, Vindhya, Satpura. To the south lies Nilgiri, Annamalai and Cardamom hills. Whereas towards the west lies the Western Ghats and towards the east lies the Eastern Ghats. So these are the series of hills. The Western Ghats are continuous and comparatively higher. The height is more compared to the Eastern Ghats. The Eastern Ghats have several deltas formed by different rivers. So there are several gaps. Whereas Western Ghat is comparatively continuous and very few gaps are found there. Now students, if the peninsular plateau is to be divided by the Narmada river into two parts. So first we will trace river Narmada. So river Narmada divides it into two parts. The first one is Malwa plateau and the second one is the Deccan plateau. So students, it's very obvious from the map that Deccan plateau occupies much more area compared to the Malwa plateau. The Malwa plateau is bounded by the Vindhyas in the south and the Aravalis to the northwest. And then Malwa plateau merges with the North Indian plain. Now students, if we talk about the Deccan plateau, it occupies the largest unit, and Deccan plateau is bounded by Satpura in the north and the western and eastern Ghats towards the west and towards the east. So students, this is the general physiography of the peninsular plateau of India. The next physical feature that we are going to learn are the coastal plains. So the coastal plains extend from the Rann of Kutch running all across the coastal part, and then it extends till the Ganga Brahmaputra delta. Children, you can see it's highlighted with a light yellow color. So the length is almost 6,000 kilometers. So it is one of the longest coastlines. India has a very long coastline, and it's very beneficial to encourage trade and other activities. So students, let's talk about the physiography of the coastal plains. So the coastal plains are formed by the alluvial brought by the river as well as by the ocean, and it is on the western coast as well as on the eastern coast. So the eastern side, the plain is known as eastern coastal plain, which is comparatively wider than the western coastal plain. The western coastal plain extends from Rann of Kutch to Kanyakumari, and the northern part of this plain is known as Konkan coast and the southern portion as Malabar coast. Whereas the eastern coastal plain is, there are several deltas formed by various rivers, so it is comparatively wider, and the northern part is called Sirkar coast, northern Sirkar, and the southern portion is called Coromandel coast. So children, this is all about the coastal plains of India. The next physical feature in the list is the Indian islands. So students, if we look at the Bay of Bengal, here lies the Andaman and Nicobar group of islands. So it consists of 7 large and 12 small islands, and this is in the Bay of Bengal, so it's often also known as Bay Islands. Now if we move to the Arabian Sea, Lakshadweep Islands, these are coral islands. They have formed by the accumulation of skeletons of marine animals, creatures called corals in the shallow water. So they have formed by this way. So it's known as, they are coral island, and there are about 25 small islands forming the Lakshadweep group of islands. So students, Andaman Nicobar is much bigger. It occupies almost 1600 square kilometers of area, whereas Lakshadweep occupies only approximately 108 square kilometers of area. So Lakshadweep group of island is much smaller compared to the Andaman and Nicobar group of islands. So So students, these two group of islands, they form the Indian islands. The last physical feature in the list is the Great Indian Desert. We also call it Thar Desert. This lies to the west of the Aravallis. This is the Aravalli range. To the west of the Aravallis lies the Great Indian Desert. Now students, this occupies major part of the state of Rajasthan in India and extend into Sindh in Pakistan as the Thar Desert. And the most important river here is river Luni. As we have learnt earlier, in the Rajasthan plain, the most important river is a seasonal stream, which is river Luni. So students, that's all about the Great Indian Desert. Now students, when we are learning about the physical features of any continent, like we are learning about the Indian subcontinent, we need to know little about the drainage pattern of the country. Let's start. So here is a map showing the drainage. Drainage means the rivers, the water bodies, especially the rivers, they flow to a very long distance and they carve their own valleys, they make their deltas and they provide water to a certain area. That the river which provide water to a certain area, that area is its drainage basin or a river basin. So students, there are several rivers in India. In the northern part, we can divide the rivers as rivers of the north or the northern part of India and the peninsular rivers, the rivers that flow in the peninsular part of India. So I'll just tell you simple difference between these two rivers, types of rivers. The rivers flowing through the northern part of India are mostly snow fed, means they get their source is mostly glaciers. So they come out from the glaciers, there is continuous supply of water, so they are perennial in nature, they have water throughout the year, they are filled with water throughout the year, except few rivers. Whereas rivers in the south, they are at their mature stage, they have very wide valleys and most of them are seasonal. There are major rivers like Kaveri, Krishna, Godavari, Mahanadi, but most of them are in mature stage and some of them flow towards the east, whereas others like Narmada and Tapti, they flow towards the west. So students, that's all about the drainage pattern of the subcontinent. So students, in this module, we have learnt about the physical division of the subcontinent or of the country of India, and we have seen that there is such a lot of diversity in the physical features, such a lot of variation. In the north, we have very lofty mountain Himalayas. Then just next to the south are the plains formed by several rivers. Then in the southern portion is a plateau. The eastern and the western portion there is a coastal plain as well as the hills are there, the eastern Ghats and the western Ghats. There is a desert in the northwestern part of the or western part of the country. So we can say there is a lot of variation in the physical features. So students, this variation also has a very, very big influence on the climate of the country. So all over the country we find a different climatic condition, and this is what we'll go learn in the climate of India. So physical features have a very vital impact on the climate of any region. Therefore, in case of India also, it has played a very important role. Students, we have learnt about the Thar Desert, Aravallis. We have learned that how the Tropic of Cancer passes from the center of the country. Then we have learnt about the Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, the Northeastern hills and the Himalayas. So all of them play a very important role in defining the climate of the country. It influences the climate of the country. So students, that's all in this module. Thank you. In the next module, we'll learn more about the climate of India.